Hi, this is Abul Hussain coming to you from London, and welcome to another episode of the SMMA Mastermind podcast, where we show you how you can start or grow your own agency. And today I have a very special guest who is joining me all the way from Austin in Texas. Now, unlike a lot of, gurus that you might see floating around on Facebook, he has actually worked for Google. He's worked for Facebook as well, and he's managed over $60 million in ad spend. Now, he is currently running his own agency. He is the CEO and founder of Optimal Agency. So, 𝗟𝗲𝗳𝘁, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Did I get your surname right there?
You did, yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for taking some time out to join us. For those of our viewers who don't know who you are, why don't you give a little bit of an introduction and background into how you got into the agency space?
For sure. So what got me on this journey was, like you mentioned, I had spent some time working at both Facebook and Google, and I knew those skills would come in handy eventually. When I worked at both of those companies, I spent a lot of time working with agencies and understanding how they function and the roles that they do and some of the pain points that agencies have with their interaction with clients. And I worked in a startup as well, where I worked and operated with some agencies there too. And learning the marketing space, if you will, with those two platforms, Facebook and Google, I figured I could start an agency and help alleviate some of those pain points that I've noticed that certain agencies have when dealing with the end client. And so it's been good so far. It's been a good journey. I've loved every moment of it. I mean, there's been ups and downs, as every entrepreneur knows, but it's definitely been good.
No, that sounds awesome. Now, a lot of people who are watching the show, they might think, well, you had a great career at Facebook and Google. Why would you not choose to progress up the corporate ladder? Why would you just kind of throw the towel in and do your own thing?
Yeah, it came down to, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So my entrepreneurial itch started off back in my days in college, where I came to a point when I first early was going to school. I didn't have a lot. I literally didn't have money for a lot of different things, and I was very poor. And so I knew I had to come up with new ways to make money. And my first little side gig was I rented cars. I know the majority of the students on my campus didn't have a vehicle. I happened to have one, so I rented my car out, and then eventually I bought another one and rented that one out as well. And so that process just was so exciting and almost addicting for a way. So even though I was working in these companies like Google and Facebook, the end goal was always to be an entrepreneur, just because the reward could be much larger if you do it right. So that's what made me decide to make that leap full time into what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. And now you have been running Optimal for just over a year, I believe, or maybe a bit longer than that. How have you positioned it to be different from other agencies out there?
Yeah. So yes, I've been running for a little over a year now, and the way that we've positioned ourselves differently is we're operating under the impression that creative is something that I noticed when businesses were working with agencies. They would have these media buyers who would strictly just control the account and the levers within the account. And during my time at Facebook and Google, I would see accounts change night and day, not from people changing audiences or changing bid strategies or structuring the account differently. I saw the changes primarily happen because of creative. And so I wanted to be an agency that not only could we do the back end things in the ad account, but we can also do creative. And so we highly stress creative that converts. And I think our agency is probably one of the best at it. And so we have a design team, we have motion graphics designers, we have copywriters, and it's been good so far. And it's helped out a lot of our clients. Most of our clients have seen progress because we're able to iterate on creative so quickly. And so we feel that we're kind of the full package rather than, hey, we're just going to change the ad account. We're also going to be helping you guys out with creative.
That's awesome. And that's a great way to position yourself. Now, when it comes to creative, obviously people have different ideas that if you go down the video route, for example, you need to have big budgets and you need to, kind of hire a team, and it's going to quite costly to get a decent video creative. I mean, do you guys go for more kind of the whole professional look or the native look or the amateur look? What works for you from a creative perspective?
Yeah, we run the gamut. The spectrum is so broad. We can do, we've worked with high production assets where we've had a team produce some really highly produced videos or photo shoots and stop motions. And then we've also worked with pre-existing assets where we would just add some motions, change up the copy and the order, and add some animation. And then we've also done some things that look very native and organic to social. So it just depends. It depends on the brand, what they're looking for, and it depends on the consumer as well. And so we definitely can do all of the above. I would say that we primarily specialize in motion graphics because we do believe that speed of iteration is very important. And so although we can do the higher end productions, we try to stick towards the ones that are going to get us quicker results, as we see that social is just an evolving platform and preferences are evolving. And so we prioritize speed over, those highly produced videos.
So in terms of like the length of content and the different formats that you're testing, where have you found to be, I suppose, the biggest gains for your clients?
Yeah, so short form is definitely the key. So you're looking at, we think 7 to 20 seconds. Sometimes we go a little over, is that sweet spot, just because people's attention spans are so short and we want to deliver the value as quickly as we can. And then as a marketer, this makes it a challenge, right? We have to think about that 5-minute elevator pitch. Well, this is like a 15-second elevator pitch where your main message, your value prop has to be very early on. You have to convince them within seconds. And so that's what we try to work on is, what does the beginning of the video look like? What is the main selling point? So we definitely lean more towards short form creative over long form.
That's interesting. Because a lot of people feel that a short form video sometimes is not enough to deliver that punch to get cut through with the messaging. Especially, for example, I was speaking to a non-profit organization the other day, and when they do their storytelling, obviously they feel like they need to tell the whole story. So have you had any clients that have come to you and they've got these long stories that you've had to cut down into 15 seconds? I mean, how would you go about doing something like that?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. And yes, I have had clients who, they have a very compelling message and it happens to be something a little bit longer than the ideal format for social media. And we do have to cut it down. And so, starting off with explaining the statistics and how people consume media, is a good starting point. We can also show them the stats. Facebook has a stat where it shows you the average length of time someone's viewed a video, and you'll typically see it's like 3 seconds. So knowing that 90% of the people aren't seeing past 3 seconds is really crucial to make sure that you show the most pivotal parts of your brand and your messaging in the very, very beginning. And so those statistics typically help. And of course, with marketing and with all things digital marketing, testing is the key. So I'm not opposed to long form videos. I think they're okay to test, but what I typically do we'll cut it down and then we'll run it in tandem with their long videos, and we'll just see whichever one works better.
No, that makes total sense. And I'm guessing for your clients, are you doing the script writing as well if you're shooting the content, or is it more of a collaborative process between you and the clients?
Yeah, we'll definitely, it'll be a collaborative process for sure to make sure that we're getting the brand on point. But we do have the capabilities to do the storyboarding and the scripting.
hmm Okay, great. One of the platforms that I know that you are running campaigns on is TikTok. And that is a new platform for a lot of advertisers, even people who have been in the performance marketing space for a while. They might have just, stuck to Facebook and all of the products within within Google's ecosystem. Tell us a bit about TikTok and how that works.
Yeah, I am a big fan of TikTok, hence why I'm one of the the earlier agencies to start pushing it and using it. So essentially, I got my start before the platform was even available to the general public. I was one of my agencies was selected as a beta partner, and so we started running ads as it was in its beta state. And the way that it works is very much like Facebook, and it's a somewhat of a social platform, and there's a newsfeed type environment, and so video content is important, and the buying on the back end works very similar to Facebook. The difference is, though, that we found from Facebook is that creative is even more important than Facebook. And it's kind of crazy to say that because everyone knows how important the right creative and messaging is on Facebook, but TikTok has taken that to a whole nother level where ad fatigue happens relatively quick within a few weeks a few weeks or a month is what we've noticed. You can't run something for that long. It'll get fatigued. And then attention spans are even shorter on TikTok. So there's just a lot that goes into getting the creative, and it's been an amazing platform. It's been an amazing journey, and extremely powerful both on the paid and organic side.
hmm And I mean, a lot of people who are not aware of the power of TikTok do you use it primarily to kind of drive brand awareness, or can it be used to drive conversions as well?
So most of the brands that I'm working with, our main objective is conversions. So it is a great platform, though, for brand awareness. The CPMs and the clicks are ultra low, lower than any other platform that I've seen. So you can definitely get some great brand awareness for a very efficient cost. And at the same time, you can also get conversions, top of funnel conversions at a relatively low cost. And most of our brands will see that it is on par or cheaper than Facebook. Now, when I say that, I mean that some of these outcomes like purchases or add to carts, initiate checkouts, we can get them at a cheaper cost than we are seeing on Facebook. Not necessarily at the same scale. Facebook is definitely, they've had time to refine their algorithm and they have a much larger user base. And so they're able to get that scale. But TikTok, we've seen that, yes, we can drive efficient conversions for brands who are seeking a direct result.
Awesome, awesome. That's good to know because I'm certainly itching to get on TikTok myself and to try it out. But it's good to kind of know that it's quite competitive compared to Facebook and often cheaper if we can kind of get those decent CPM. Now let's talk about a bit about your agency and when you made the switch, did you have clients from the get-go? What did you do to go out there and sign your first client?
Yeah, so fortunately, I had some connections with some of the people that I worked with during my time both at Facebook and Google. And so those who I had a strong relationship with as their account manager when I was at those companies, I had reached out to and let them know that I was starting my own agency. And I was lucky enough to get a few of them to sign with me. And so that's what jump started me in the early days. In the beginning was I already had um, a decent book of business to start me off with. And then of course, doing things out there to promote myself is going to be critical. I haven't done a lot of that, and I'm I'm looking to pivot in that direction, of course, while always providing values. And I think people, at the end of the day, I really want to provide value, and I want my agency to provide value. And so offering advice to those not even under my, book of business or my clientele, I think is going to be something key for growth. But yeah, it was a really good start for me in the beginning, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of businesses, and especially agencies that are running advertising campaigns for businesses, the whole pandemic has, been quite challenging for them. How has that impacted your agency and your business?
So yeah, we've had some clients in, say, the travel industry who had to pull back, which was, it was very sad to see that the impact there. So we were impacted both negatively and positive. Some of our clients had to pull back. Some of our clients actually were the opposite. Happened. They were scaling up because of the pandemic, where they offered, primarily direct to consumer goods, and people weren't going shopping in retail. So their website was performing really well. So it was both a good and bad thing. Overall, some people got hit hard, and some people actually saw the positive impact because of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and from your experience of working in both Google and Facebook, I know you were running some of the larger campaigns. But what do you feel like is the common mistake that a lot of businesses make when they are trying to generate conversions through Google and Facebook? What do they get wrong, especially if they are running campaigns in-house?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for Google, the things that I see mostly done wrong is they aren't willing to give it a long enough time to optimize, right? These platforms are different. Facebook and Google are different, and sometimes you go into Google with a Facebook mindset if you started off on Facebook, or vice versa. You go into Google with the Google mindset, but the algorithms are different, the user behaviors are different. And so the things that I see wrong with Google is that they aren't willing to give Google enough rope and time to optimize. Google is one of those things where you need to give it a little bit more time. Versus Facebook, it's like off the get-go, usually you're going to have a good sense of how things are going, and so you can scale or kill ads. And so the mindsets need to be different when you approach those two platforms. And I often see if someone comes from a Google background and they transition over to Facebook, I can tell by the way they set up their accounts and how granular and how specific it is. So those are the mistakes. I think it's really the mindset, knowing that the platforms are different. They're going to operate different. There's best practices for both. Know what the best practices are, and make sure that you don't try to intermingle and take what you learned from Google and try to apply it to Facebook, and vice versa. In regards, that just doesn't work, because they're just two different platforms.
No, it's a great piece of advice. I remember when I transitioned from PPC with Google, and then I moved to Facebook. You're right. I think, the whole ad groups mentality just does not translate into ad sets. Final question for you, because you've been very generous with your advice and your time. For someone who is watching this, who might be working in an agency, and they know they've got the skills and they want to take the leap, they want to go and set up their own business, what's the best advice you could give them?
I would say if you're really a master at your craft and you know and believe in yourself, go and do it. Get out there and show the world, and get on and tell people about yourself and let them know, because that was something that I struggled with in the beginning. I had some doubts. Am I really good at what I do? Is my agency really providing value? And, recently I've been changing my mindset, is that yes, we are good at what we do. Yes, we provide value. Yes, we can help people, and we want to help people. And I think if you go into that mindset that this is a win-win for both people, like win you as the agency owner, that you're going to get compensated for your work, and then a win for the client that you're going to do some phenomenal work for them and help them grow their business. Those are the best relationships, and you feel confident that you can actually provide a win-win. Get out there and do it. And believe and have faith in yourself is one of the most important things that I would give as a piece of advice for those who are thinking about making that leap.
Awesome. That's a great piece of advice. Well, Arthur Musso, founder of Optimal Agency, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Abdul. Appreciate it.